due diligence from the buyer's perspective is like a verification process. You know, you've made an offer to acquire a business and you want to make sure that the business that you're going to acquire is worth the money that you've agreed to pay for it. So you're lifting up the car bonnet, you're looking underneath the lid and making sure that everything is as it should be. For the sellers, I think you should view it as the process which sets the scene for the transaction. You know, if you're organised, if your paperwork is up to date, you're giving the right impression to your buyer. If you are totally unorganised, you know, the buyer's going to take that into account in terms of how they approach you throughout the whole of the transaction.
Sure. And Pete, what's your, if I was to say to you, you know, as a non-lawyer, for example, how would you describe due diligence?
I always try and give people analogies. So if you imagine buying a house and you know, you want to check that the house is worth the money you're paying for, you'd often have a survey. And there are various different types of survey, but imagine you're buying a very expensive house, you want to check everything, you're going to send in the surveyors, you're going to send in your builder friend to check various things. It's very similar when you buy a business. Imagine you're buying the business, you want to make sure that all of the clients that this agency have got contracts in place, and you want to make sure that they've, you know, the accounts they've sent you stack up and that the numbers work. You'd want to do that yourself. So sitting on the other side of the coin when you're selling, try and be empathetic to the buyer and think about what they want to look at. And as you rightly said, be organised, because from my experience, it seems that people sign off, well, we'll come on to the process probably, but they'll sign off something called an LOI, which is a letter of intent, which sets out the offer. Then they'll move into due diligence. And you'll probably find they'll do fairly strategic things to check your house in order in the first couple of weeks of due diligence, and they won't start the legal side until a couple of weeks after to make sure that your ducks are in a row, if that makes sense.